Hi everybody, I'm going to go ahead and explain line angles on this particular slideshow presentation. So on the left hand side of the screen you'll see that I have a picture with a facial view, and then there's two red lines drawn, and then there's a picture of a lingual view with two red lines drawn, and this is of an anterior tooth. Okay, so if I were to actually start to draw on this particular slide, I'm going to draw a line down the middle of those two teeth, just demonstrating that this is the midline. Okay, so we'll just write midline there, and then I'm going to identify what those line angles are. So if you think about the fact that a tooth is rounded, even though this is a two-dimensional picture, and if this line in the middle between the two is the midline, then this particular red line on the mesial of the tooth is going to be the mesial-facial drawing for line angle, and then the one on the other side of the tooth is going to be the distal facial line angle for the tooth. So essentially what you're doing is you're splitting the tooth into three different parts: the mesial, the flat. So I'll draw that out just so that way you know what surface that is, or what we call that. So we'll have the mesial facial aspect of the tooth, then we'll have the flat portion of the tooth, and then we'll have the distal facial portion of the tooth. Okay. Now, if we were to take that tooth and flip it around, then you're looking at the lingual view, which is to the right of the facial view. So then the midline still stays the same. So then this particular red line here is going to be the mesial lingual line angle, and then this one is going to be the distal lingual line angle. Okay, so again, you're still going to have three different sections of the tooth. You're going to have the mesial facial, you're going to have, or mesial lingual, I'm sorry, then you're going to have the flat, and then you're going to have the distal lingual of the tooth. So that is for anterior tooth. When, if you look at the other diagram on the right side of the screen, you'll notice that it's an occlusal drawing of a maxillary first molar on the upper right. So the way that that tooth is separated out, you'll see that I have the occlusal view just because it shows you the roundness of the tooth a little bit better. So this is going to be, let me go ahead and first identify this is the facial and this is the lingual. Okay, so how do I know that? Well, if you look here, this is your mesial-lingual cusp, right? Because it's the largest of all five of the cusps. And then you also have the cusp of Carabelli that's kind of hanging off the side of the mesial-lingual cusp, right? So you'll have this cusp here is going to be your distal facial. And then this one is going to be your mesial facial. And then, of course, this one is going to be your distal lingual over here, okay? So this is going to be your distal facial line angle. This one is going to be your mesial facial line angle. And then this one is going to be your mesial lingual line angle. And then you'll have your distal lingual line angle here, okay? So essentially what the line angle does is it's going to separate or divide out the different sections of the tooth. And it happens as the tooth starts to curve. There's a specific point on the tooth where we say, okay, this is where we're going to separate the tooth. So then that way we still have the 1, 2, and 3 different sections. And the reason why this is important for us is because this helps us when the hygienist or when the dentist is actually doing their probing. So up here in the upper right hand corner, I'm just going to kind of make a little small grid. Okay, and then we're going to say, okay, so starting over here on the distal of tooth number 3, they would insert the probe and then they would kind of just bounce around until they get to the, and I say bounce around, they're going to kind of take the probe and they're going to go like this, making very small movements, and they're looking at the readings on the probe as they go from the straight distal into the distal facial line angle. And then they're going to record whatever the deepest reading is. So let's just say that we get a 3 there, okay? Then they're going to go from distal facial line angle over to mesial facial line angle, and they're going to take that probe and they're just going to kind of take it around that pocket, and then they're going to record whatever the deepest measurement is. So we're going to say that that was a 2. Then from mesiofacial line angle all the way to the mesial, they're going to again take that probe and measure the measurements. And then we're going to say that we get a 3 there. Okay, so now from the lingual aspect, they can go from the distal or go from the mesial. It doesn't matter where you start, just as long as you get your 3 recordings. So if we start from the mesial lingual, we're going to go ahead and start from mesial and go all the way to the line angle. Now we're going to say that that one was a 4 millimeter pocket. Then we go from the mesial lingual line angle of the flat of the tooth to the distal lingual line angle, and we're going to say we got a 3 there. And then from the distal lingual line angle all the way to the distal interproximal area, we're going to probe again that last portion of the tooth, and then we're going to say that we have a 4 there. So the way that you would read those out for the distal facial drawings, it would be 3, 2, 3, and then for the for the lingual drawings, it's going to be 4, 3, 4. Okay, so again, that's the reason why the line angles are important, because it separates the tooth out into sections in order for the dental hygienist or the dentist to successfully go ahead and determine where the areas are for probing depths. Please reach out to me if you have any questions.